Welcome to the Desire to Dream podcast. I'm your host, Lo Wilder. The vision of this podcast is to provide tools on how to become successful in your finances, business, leadership development, and much more. A little bit about me: I grew up in the hood, homeless at the age of 14. I made a choice not to become a product of my environment. And today, I am a successful businessman, community leader, and inspirational speaker. It is my desire to encourage and empower you to unlock your greatness. So tune in and enjoy the show.
I think we are ready to go on this super sensational, successful Saturday. So those of you who are tuning in live or watching the replay, thank you for joining us on this super sensational, successful Saturday. So, man, Brother Lo, how you feeling?
Let's go. Hey, man, I'm feeling phenomenal. Man. Fantastic, man. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. So, guys, just the disclosures, I do not own the right of that music, but Buster.
Hey, give it away now.
You know what I'm saying? Man, I love it. Man, who gets up on a Saturday morning, to actually talk about some positive things that are going on in our life in some form of fashion? And man, I'm so happy to have my good friend, my brother, Lo Wilder. You know, good to have you on here. Where are you at right now?
So right now, man, we outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and we moved here about less than 2 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
Less than 2 years ago. So let's get it on and cracking, because you have a fabulous journey. You have a fabulous blueprint. You have gone through many temporary challenges and issues, but you are on top of the world. Well, we're building an empire, but you're building another empire, right? So
that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
All right. Well, let's get it on and cracking. Where did you grow up at?
So, I grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, for those that don't know, the home of basketball. And I grew up there back in 1985. And so that's my hometown. Graduated from high school, and that's when I left from Springfield. But shout out to 413.
Yeah. Did you grow up with both parents? Did you grow up in a single parent household? How did that work out for you?
Yeah, man. So I actually grew up in a single family home. My mother raised me and my sister. And so she raised me till about, 14 years old. And we can just dive into it right there. Like at 14, things shifted, right? There was a change. And so I was basically left on my own. My mother, she had got arrested for selling drugs, man. And so, I grew up in a single family home. She was struggling. And a lot of people would be like, man, how did that happen? Right. So my mother didn't have any education, came from Puerto Rico. And after working from job to job, got laid off, man. She just kind of went back to what she was known to do, which was to hustle. And so she was hustling, and it caught up to her. And she had to spend 4 years in jail. So throughout my high school years, I was homeless, basically. Took care of myself.
So your family is originally from Puerto Rico?
Yeah. So my mother, Puerto Rico, and she's first generation to come over. My grandmother and my aunts and uncles moved from Puerto Rico. They first started out in Pennsylvania, then New York, and then Massachusetts.
Okay. Gotcha. Any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, so got an older sister, 7 years older than me. She, phenomenal. Like she's incredible in her ways, man. She's been around she pretty much raised me throughout those years, because my mom was just out in them streets hustling. And so my sister was the one that was home, making sure that I was good.
Okay, so when you guys were growing up, prior to her getting arrested and so forth, how would you describe your upbringing? Because a lot of times we understand that from the age of 3 to 8 years old, and sometimes all the way up to 10 and 12, it really shapes kind of who we are. How would you describe your upbringing in that age range?
Yeah, so from the age of 3 to 8, man, it was a struggle. Like we were getting evicted since I was younger. So the bills weren't being paid. Now, as far as her upbringing, my mother was a loving mom. So
Mm,
for those of you that are probably thinking like, nah, she was a loving mother. She really cared about me and my sister. She made sure that
mm,
we came first, despite the trauma, or despite the struggle. She definitely had a lot of love for us, and even others, man. I can just remember cousins living with us,
mm.
because they had to come and stay with us. So mom was always there with love. So there was definitely love in the home, but there was just, brokenness because of financial struggles.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, we were moving, in and out of different places. And then, she definitely made sure that education was important, despite the fact that she didn't have it. She knew that education would lead to success. So she
Mhm.
made sure that we did that, man. But I ain't gonna lie, man, my dad wasn't around. I was like one of the only boys in the house. So I was a rebel. So yeah, it was a lot of disciplinary things there too.
Did you know your father?
At the time I did, man. So it's an interesting story, right? So I did know my father, but he wasn't really around. Um, so I was adopted, and I didn't realize that until I was 24 years old. And we can get into
Mm,
that. I found out later. So I
mm,
grew up thinking that my father was someone else.
mm.
And so, when you're a boy, man, and you're growing up with, it was all women, and nothing against that, but there's a void, right? That
Yes.
you're like, man, where's my dad? Like, where's the
Mhm,
man, in the home? And you got all these questions. And so I always wanted to know my father on a deeper level,
mm.
but he wasn't around. He was just on the streets, man, unfortunately. And so yeah, but I'll get into the story on how I found out that he wasn't even my father. So here I am at a young age, just chasing a man that wasn't even my dad.
Yeah.
And so that was heartbreaking too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
when I got older. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll get around to that.
Yeah,
So,
most deaf.
so you're 12, you're 13,
Hmm.
14, moms get arrested. Did you immediately get into homeless like situation, or did family, friends kind of hear about your situation? What was that like for you?
Yeah, most definitely. So, people hear the word homeless and I wasn't sleeping in the car or under a bridge or something like that, or like sleeping in abandoned buildings.
Yeah.
But at 14, I was actually out skating with some of my best friends, man. It was the night before a football game, and my uncle came to pick us up, and it was kind of
Mm,
weird because my mom was supposed to pick us up, and he had this look on his face, and so I'm like, something ain't right. So we started
mm,
dropping my boys off, and my best friend at the time, Ralph, he was in the car with me, and I was like, oh, what's going on, right? So
mhm, mhm,
he said, he knew Ralph. Ralph was family, so he was like, "Your mom's got arrested with my wife, with your aunt, and your cousin and your sister. Undercover cops got her." Like the thing about it, T, was like they thought I was 14, that I didn't know mom was selling drugs. Like I knew she
mm,
was selling drugs. There was
mhm,
people in and out of the house, and I just I seen the money, and I know she wasn't working, so I put two
mhm,
and two together, and it just caught up to her. So he told me that, and I went to the house. Well, we had an apartment, and when we got to the apartment, it was raided. Um, you know, house was just flipped upside down, just stuff everywhere. Cops
uh-huh,
just looking for drugs, looking for money. And so I just gathered up what I could in the bin, and just started staying at different friends' house. At first, I went to Rob's house, but then I
mhm,
didn't want to overwhelm his mom because she got 13 kids in the
mm,
house. So I stayed there that night, but then I was staying at a few friends' houses, man. And then
mhm.
eventually I asked his mom if I can just stay with them. So
Wow.
yeah, so I stayed with them, but again, 13 kids. It was five of us in a room, slept on the floor for 3 years, man. Just struggle.
Can I ask you, Lo, did you have any aspirations? Did you have any goals growing up? Like, did you want to be this growing up?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was younger, we all have dreams. We watch MTV Cribs, man. You see the big houses and the
MTV
rappers.
Cribs. Come on,
MTV
come on.
Cribs,
I
right?
remember. I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. So, you see the cribs, you see the cars, and I was just, man, I was amazed by it. Like, here I am, like sleeping on a mattress on the floor, like
Yes,
never
sir.
really had like a bedroom set. So I always dreamed like of that. So I was always a dreamer as a kid, man. And I just, I started playing football when I was in the 7th grade.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I'm gonna go to NFL. Like
Yeah.
that was my dream and aspirations.
Yeah.
And so yeah, about 12 years old, I said, I'm gonna go to NFL. So I took football very serious, man. I just didn't
Mhm.
realize how tough that road is.
Yeah.
That was just my dream. So
Wow.
definitely had dreams and aspirations.
Let me ask you, because you have a great personality.
Mm,
We're always talking about the assessment and mastering your LOPs and SOPs and the business and all the other stuff. Have you taken the assessment?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What are you?
I'm a high D, man. 94% D. I'm a pilot.
Okay. You
Yeah.
are a pilot. What's your secondary?
Secondary is flight attendant. So that's
Okay.
I grade second as a high I.
Okay.
Probably about in the 70 percentile.
Okay. For
Mhm.
those of you who are watching and you're not familiar with the flight assessment, this is a assessment. It is a behavioral expertise and understanding kind of your natural styles as well as your adaptive styles in some form of fashion. And when you can understand those styles, you really can in fact have a better understanding of how you can navigate in your strengths as well as your limitation. Okay, so you're growing up, you're playing football, and you find out that mom get arrested. You're sleeping on friends and family couches. What happens in the next few years? Did you like immediately know that you had to go get a job, or what?
Yeah. So I
What was
mean,
that like?
yeah. So obviously, you start growing. Like at that age, you're growing. So my mom's went to jail when I was in the 9th grade. 10th grade, I'm still wearing 9th grade clothes and just wasn't fitting right. So playing football, I really couldn't work during the football season. So
Mhm.
it was a struggle that first year. But then when I was 15 years old, started working at Six Flags,
Okay.
and I remember going there. I was like, I want to get paid the most money. So what is that? They're like
Yeah.
security. I'm like, bet, put me in security. They're like,
Uh-huh.
you're not 18. I said, what's the next thing? And so they were like cleaning bathrooms. So I took the job. I said, bet, I need that. It was like $1 more, instead of being a cool guy on the rides or working
Mhm.
on the games. So I was cleaning bathrooms, and that really started to, work on my work ethic. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because and it humbles you, right? You cleaning, you sweeping the floors and whatnot. And so I started developing that. Then I leveraged. I went to a vocational high school, and for those of you that don't know, I took up electric. So you can learn electric, carpentry, auto mechanics. And so my school had this very unique situation where they had a program to get a job with the electric company.
Mm.
So when I was selected out of 40, 50 students, it was 6 of us that got selected. Now, mind you, wasn't the smartest in the classroom, but
Mhm.
I had an impeccable work ethic. Why? Because I came from nothing. So
Mhm.
everything I knew I needed to work in order to get what I needed, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I was grinding. It wasn't the best in the class, but I was selected. I was interviewed by a panel of other individuals that were with the
Mhm.
electric company in this program, and the man said, "Tell them about your story, your life." And I was like,
Mm.
"What you mean?" And I didn't want to say it because one, I was embarrassed and I thought it would hinder
Yeah.
me. I'm 15 years
Yeah.
old, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, do I want to tell them that my mom sells drugs? Like they probably would
Right.
look at me. So I just told them the story and they were amazed. Like, so you're telling me, you're getting good grades, you're showing up to school every day, you play football, and
Mhm.
you're living with who? So I'm
Mhm.
living with a friend, but she's taking care of her kids. Like I'm just staying there. So that they were like, we're gonna hire him. So they gave me that
Mhm.
job, and we talk about exposure a lot. That's where I got the exposure
Mhm.
and really started thinking bigger picture and more realistic.
Okay, so you got all of these factors going on in your life. And by the way, that is a lot for a 14, 15-year-old young man for that matter.
Mm.
Did you have any mentors that really stood out in in the work environment, or did you have any mentors on the football field?
Yeah, so great question. And 100%, man. I had my football coach at the time. He was the defensive coordinator, Bill Watson,
Okay.
and he was my mentor. He was like big bro. He was in his 20s, but he came from New York, and he had this swag where he really started to give us the impression that we can be a football player and we can get good grades. And
Mm,
he was the one that broke it down, like, you can't go play in the NFL or go to college if your grades is crap. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
So he
mhm.
really, put the emphasis on education. And so I was like, got to do that. Right. And then he was always, giving us game on how to handle money
Mm,
and things like that. So he was really like a huge mentor. But then I got a mentor also at the electric company.
okay.
And so I really started to learn more there.
Okay. Okay. Um, you play ball.
Hmm.
Okay. There's levels of playing ball. I played back in the day myself.
Right, right, right.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about
Yeah.
it. What position did you play?
Man, I played offensive tackle, defensive tackle, man. As my wife like to say, my glory days.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
play
Did you
both sides of the
start?
ball. Oh, absolutely, man. I was a 4-year starter. Um,
4-year starter.
4-year starter, man. Started my freshman year. I played youth football. And,
Okay.
in my city, man, when you play youth football, a lot of people are like, they scouting, like, hey, come to my
Yeah.
high school, come to my high
Yeah.
school. And I was always different. I don't know. I was a leader. I mean, I'm a natural born leader, man, but I always stood
Ah,
out. You
come
know what I
on.
mean?
Come
Yeah.
on.
And so, like, everybody wanted to go to the top two schools. You know what I mean? They were like,
Yes, sir.
man, we want to go to Commerce. We want to go to Central. They winning championships. And me and my boy looked at each other, was like, yo, we need to go to a school and dominate and start a new, like, a trend there. So I
Hmm.
actually went to a school that wasn't really that great. And my
Hmm.
freshman and sophomore year, we went to the championship both years. So we
Mm.
wanted to, and that's why I started. I came in and I just knew I was going to start, man. I just had that
Hmm.
mindset, like, ain't nobody taking my position. So
Hmm.
but yeah, 4-year starter. I was a 3-year all Western Mass, all league. My senior year, I won the most valuable. That's my plaque in the back. Won the most valuable
Come on.
lineman. Yeah, I mean,
Come
so
on. Come
yeah, yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So dominated, man. Played in the Shriners All Star game. So I was
Okay.
heavily recruited in high school, and that's when the mindset shifted. Right, 15 years
Hmm.
old, my coach was like, "You keep playing this way, when you graduate, you're gonna have schools just throwing you offers." So that's when I knew, like, I can go to school for free.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact that you mentioned your ability to play sports. And I think for many of us growing up, like sports can be a great avenue and protector of time.
Yeah, 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 most definitely.
Right?
Yeah,
And you playing and you getting all of these accolades and then moving up and then playing at the Shriners really, really must have gave you some really highlights. Did you have any schools looking at you? Did you get any scholarships?
yeah, most definitely. So in the Northeast, man, I had scholarships. I was getting offer letters from Syracuse,
Okay.
Hofstra,
Okay.
Sacred Heart. One of the challenges that I had, though, was my height. I know I'm a big guy, but as an offense and defensive lineman, 6'1", 6 foot wasn't really like your ideal lineman. The other
Right.
part of that was my SAT scores, which hindered that. But I
Mm.
had about 5 scholarships.
Hmm.
I selected one of them to go to Western Mass, Westfield State
Okay.
College, and so I chose one of them state colleges, literally because it was kind of like the same thing when I was getting recruited. The coach, he invited us to a cookout, and
Hmm.
he was telling everybody, like, this is gonna be our starting defensive tackle next year. So I'm like,
Mm.
I'll
Mm.
be here next year. So
Mm.
I was hooked on that,
So he
and
was
yeah.
closing you before you even got there.
Man, that was it. Now he could have. Now that I'm older, he could have been just throwing that out there, and I would have probably been, sitting behind somebody else, But
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
at the time, I saw that I met the senior that was graduating, the one that was defensive tackle, and there was a couple cats that I played against that was on that team, so they
Hmm.
they were like, "Lo, you gonna come up here, you'll start." So I
Oh,
knew
okay.
that I was going into a situation where I can dominate.
Okay. So you're now at college. You're now playing ball. Are you still
Well,
working?
yeah. So before that, because things shifted my senior
Okay.
year, right?
Okay.
So I'm heavily recruited. I'm going to all these different schools. I selected the one school that I'm talking about. Now I'm in the pre-college program.
Okay.
So I'm in a pre-college program. I'm working a job at the housing authority because I used to work, again, two jobs was my thing. And
Mhm.
so I'm working at the housing authority and I get a phone call um, from the news reporter. So what happened
Mhm.
was they wanted to do a special on me and my roommates because, and I didn't talk about this. I think we skipped over this, but my senior
Mhm.
year, I went and got an apartment because when I was, yeah,
Hold
yeah,
on.
yeah,
You got your own apartment
my
as a
senior,
senior year in high school. How did
yeah.
you accomplish that?
Yeah. So what happened was, man, working at the electric company, working at the housing authority, I was making good money
Okay.
at
So you're
at
bringing in
17,
income.
bringing
Okay.
in some serious income. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Did you have any credit?
Didn't have any credit.
No
No,
credit,
no
but
credit.
all right. Did you know what credit was?
Negative. Well, negative. Nah, not at all.
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay. So you apply for an apartment. How did that process go?
Yeah. So basically what happened was this, man. I'm 17. And again, I'm still living in this room with four guys. So his mom was on food stamps, right? She
Mhm.
worked at a factory, like she wasn't bringing a lot of money. I'm making like $1,000 a week working for the electric company, working at housing. And so I'm in New York with my coach going
So
shopping.
you
Yeah.
really don't have no time because you're playing ball. You got two jobs, and you're probably like literally going back to back to back.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, no question. I wake up in the morning. Like, so my school I had the benefit to work during school hours. It was a co-op. So you're able to work, get a grade, and get paid while you're in school. When I got out of
Gotcha.
there, I hit practice. After practice, I go work the second job.
Okay.
So I wouldn't get home till about 11:30. So
Okay.
it was a grind all day. And then I was again, I went, my football coach, we're in New York, man. I'm buying all these clothes, Coogee,
Hmm.
Maurice Malone, right? So I'm buying all this nice gear.
Hmm.
And one of the brothers was my size. And so he starts wearing the clothes, man. Me and him start fighting because I'm like, yo,
Hmm.
stop wearing my clothes.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized, like, man, I need to go, find somewhere else to live because I outgrew
Hmm.
this space. So at
Hmm.
first I went to my aunt's house, but then she started to see how much money I was making, started to charge me rent. And
Mm.
I'm 16, 17 at the time. And I'm like, man,
Wow.
you're gonna charge me rent. I'm gonna go get my own place. And so I didn't
Right.
apply for an apartment traditionally, like how what happened was my one of the cats from my football team, he his dad had apartments.
Hmm.
And so I told him I'm looking for a place to stay, and his dad actually rented the place. Now, another kid on the team had a similar situation where he was actually living with the football coach I'm talking about because he was homeless too. So
Hmm.
me and him said, let's get an apartment. Then the third guy heard us talking and was like, I want to move in too. So we ended up
Hmm.
getting, it was three of us that got an apartment with my good friend's father who rented it to
Hmm.
us. So
Okay.
that's how we got the apartment at that age. It wasn't because we
Okay.
had credit. Yeah, it wasn't like it was just, third bedroom house
Yeah.
or a third floor apartment.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So so that's still interesting because one, you're still in high school.
yeah, facts.
Two, you're a senior. Three, you're now co-oping with other students and attempting to find your way on the life GPS.
Right.
Four, you got you're working from sun up to sundown, still playing ball, still going to school, still working. And what happens then? I mean,
Yeah.
because now we're entering into a season where you get notice in the newspaper. What happened then?
Yeah. So, being in all these accolades with football, I started winning these awards. Like I was talking about the most valuable lineman. So they're writing these news articles, and it happens to be the same woman that she kind of covers all the high school stories. So you
Mm-hmm.
start meeting the same editor or the same writer. And so she's like, where's your, like I start asking about my parents, and she's like, where's your mom and your dad? And I said, well, I don't live with them. She
Mm-hmm.
was like, "So you live with a grandmother or aunt?" I said, "No, I got my own apartment." Now this blew
Uh-huh.
her mind because she was just like you were saying, like, "Wait, hold on, you're 17, 18 years old. How do you
Yes.
have your own
Yes.
apartment?" Right. So
Yes.
that's when she started digging a little deeper. When she found out that it was me and two of my teammates that we had a 3-bedroom apartment, she had to follow up with the guidance counselor because she didn't believe the story. So the
Mm.
guidance counselor confirmed and said, yes, they have their own place, and they're seniors. So then she went to her boss and said, I want to write a story just on these kids that have their own place. They're honor students. They're working 2 jobs. Cause I was telling her I'm clipping coupons. I'm working at Walgreens too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
clipping coupons, like getting, dish detergent, soap, everything on discount. And so she was just fascinated. So she wanted to write this newspaper, this article. So
Now,
we
who is
write
she
the
working for?
she's working for the Republican, which is a local newspaper in our
So
state.
it's a local newspaper. Okay, got it,
Yep,
got it.
local
Okay.
newspaper. So she comes to the apartment.
Do you know how
She
big the newspaper is? Is it 20,000? Is it 50,000 in terms of
Yeah,
distribution?
I would say yeah, it was probably more in the. I know there's 60,000 in the city, but then it goes out to the greater parts of the city too. So it probably
Okay.
reaches between 60,000 or more.
Okay.
So yeah, she writes this. She comes to our apartment. She interviews us. We tell her the story. A few weeks go by and something interesting happens. Reagan passed away. It was a Sunday when the article got published.
Yes,
So
sir.
Ronald Reagan passes away. He's on the front page of the paper
Okay.
on the top, and then on the bottom it's our story.
Wow. On the
So
front
we
page.
on the front page of the newspaper on a Sunday,
Wow.
where
Okay.
everybody reads the Sunday paper,
Right,
right?
right,
Clipping
right.
coupons on Sundays, right? So our story, just everybody starts talking about us, man. We become like these local celebrities. And what happened was the person who recognized us was Dr. Bill Cosby. So Bill Cosby reads
Hold on.
about us in the paper.
So Dr. Bill, like the actor,
The actor comedian Bill Cosby,
Bill Cosby,
yeah,
Bill Cosby
reads
himself.
this paper, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because so he lives in Massachusetts at the time, right? He still
Okay.
does. His main house is in Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts. And what a lot of people didn't, I didn't know this, and maybe you did, or maybe you don't, but Bill Cosby also he played on the Harlem Globetrotters back in the day.
I heard about that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was a
Okay.
Harlem Globetrotter, right? And what happened was, and we're talking about timing, right? Everybody, like, you got to understand. So I'm at the home of the Basketball Hall of Fame, Springfield, Mass. They
Mm-hmm.
wanted to honor Bill Cosby for playing for the Harlem Globetrotters. So they were doing a locker room exhibit with him. He wanted to celebrate 12 young men that were graduating from high school who face adversity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The newspaper article just comes out. The president of the Basketball Hall of Fame forwards him the paper and say, we'll look for the other 10, but look at these 2 young men. So
Wow.
he reads this paper and was blown away. I'm working at the housing authority, and I get a
Mm-hmm.
phone call, and it's the editor, it's the writer, and she's someone wants to meet with you. And I said, okay. Now, mind you, I'm already attending this pre-college program
Yeah. Yeah.
at this college. It's summertime. I'm about to go into camp, everything, and it's in July. So Cosby, she's like, Bill Cosby wants to talk, and I'm like,
She
Bill
told
Cosby.
you up front that Bill Cosby wants
Yeah,
to meet.
right. Mind you, he's on the phone though. I didn't know this.
Oh, oh,
He's on the phone. So she's like, Bill, and I was like, yeah, right. And he starts talking.
on a
Hello,
three-way.
on a 3-way. Hey, and I heard his voice, and I was like, yo, this is Bill Cosby. Like, I'm freaking out because I'm 18
Yeah.
years old, man, kid from the
Yeah.
streets, man, nothing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why does this is the father of everyone looks at Mr. Huxtable,
Right.
right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm
Yes,
on the
sir.
phone with this man, and he's like, I read about you and your friends, and I want to meet with you. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay. And
Mm,
he
mm,
says,
come on.
yeah, he says, I know that you're going to college up in Massachusetts, but
Yes.
would you be interested in visiting some historically Black colleges? He said HBCUs.
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna keep it 100 with everybody on this, like, live.
Yes,
I
sir.
didn't know what HBCU was. Like, I did not. So I said, the HBCU, like, which school is that?
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, it's a historically Black college and university. I want to take you on a tour. to
Mm,
Hampton, Howard, and Morehouse. I said, and I'm gonna be real. I told, because I'm a realist. I'm straight. There's no chase, man. And I told him, I
yeah.
said, Dr. Cosby, that sounds amazing, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't afford college.
Mm,
I got
mhm,
a football scholarship,
mhm,
and I have to go to this school because I
mhm,
can't afford this college. He
mhm.
said, I think I can find $1 or two.
Uh-huh.
I said, say less. Yeah.
Okay, so he basically is saying, look, I heard about you, and I have something that I am possibly going to be doing in the very near future. I would like for you and others to consider jumping on what I may be introducing in the very near future.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that very near future was possibly historical Black colleges that was outside of your sphere of influence at that particular time. Did you immediately say yes, or did you say, well, let me think about it? Like,
Now,
or did
hey,
you just
once he said he gonna pay for it, I was, hey, listen, my hey, and that's a shout out.
come
Hey, shout outs to
come
my
on.
coach, man. Hey, shout out to my coach, because I always made sure that I'm very clear. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
sir.
So I'm
Yes,
like,
sir.
I said, so you're telling me that if I don't go to this school that's offering me the football scholarship, that you're gonna pay for me to go to these schools? He says, yes, I will pay full tuition.
Wow.
I said, I'm sold. So I was all in. I was all in
Okay.
after that. Yeah.
Okay. So you visit several colleges. What was
Yeah,
that like?
so the tour, man, it was amazing. So now the writer, right? He tells her, okay, I'm gonna set y'all up on this tour, and I want you to go with these boys to all the schools, because we don't have parents. We're still
Yeah.
18. I
Right.
mean, and so she comes and she ends up writing an article on each trip. Now, at the time, she doesn't put in the paper that it's Bill Cosby. She says a benefactor has stepped in. Like,
Mhm.
basically how she introduced it was, hey, remember the story I wrote a few weeks ago about these young
Yeah.
men?
Mhm.
Here's a benefactor who said he wants to pay for them to go to college. So
Mhm.
we're going to tour. We went to Morehouse, we went to Howard, and then Hampton was our last stop.
Mhm.
Now, again, I need that guarantee, right? And so how I selected Hampton was, well, when I first went to Morehouse and Howard, they said, okay, we're gonna take your SATs and your application, and we'll let y'all
Mhm.
know. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I just told you, my SAT was just good enough to play college football. I had an
Mhm.
820. Like, I was
Mhm.
just over the 800 where you had to be eligible to play ball. So I'm thinking, I'm telling my boy, I'm like, bro, man, I don't know if we have the grades and stuff to get into these schools. Well, Hampton, when we walk into Hampton, didn't apply to the college. They handed us our acceptance package. And it
They
was like,
handed you an accepting.
when we walked in through the door to meet the president and everybody, before we applied, they were like,
Yeah.
here's your acceptance package to Hampton University.
Wow.
So again, I was sold. I'm like, all right, this is the school. They accepted us right away. Now we ended up getting accepted later on from Morehouse and Howard, but it
Mhm.
was too late. By
Yeah.
that time, we were already like going to Hampton. And so when we got back, and mind you, when we went to Hampton, it's when we met Bill Cosby personally.
Yeah.
So we actually got the chance to fly on his private jet. And that's the picture that you see in the paper.
Is
Um,
that right? So you got
yeah,
a chance to fly on his private jet.
private jet, man. First time me and Cosby, first time I ever flew on a private plane. Mind you, honestly, I wasn't. I think I've been on the plane one time that I can
Yeah.
remember before
Yeah.
that. Anyhow,
Yeah.
and so here we are, man. We're on the, his private plane. I'm meeting Bill Cosby for the first time,
Was he
and
by himself? Did he have the tons
it,
of assistants?
no,
Like, I
it was
mean,
him. It was him. It was the pilot and Bill Cosby. That was it. Now
really?
he had a driver that brought him to the plane, but
Sure.
he
Okay.
was by yeah, he was by himself.
What did you find most interesting about him personally, just as a human being, and you getting to meet him and so forth? Did you
Yeah.
find anything that personally resonated with you?
Man, he was humble.
Mm,
Yeah, he was very humble. He was humble, and he really wanted to know us. He wanted to get to know us as our, like, he wanted to know how, because at the time he was in the newspaper for, saying African Americans, there's an epidemic,
mhm,
people are their kids aren't graduating, the teenage pregnancy, all of these different things. So he was fascinated that he found 2, 3 young men who didn't have their parents around, and we were making all the right choices. So he wanted
hmm
to get to know our thought process, like how the heck or who the heck told y'all to
hmm
do that, right? So
hmm
he
hmm
was really interested in that. The other thing, his memory, like the people he knew, like the way he was talking, like he remembers everything, and his storytelling was just fascinating. Yeah, so
Wow,
that was dope.
that's amazing. Okay, so you select this college. Yeah, he confirms the financial backing of that. Now you're going to college. So are you still playing ball at this time?
Yeah, so it was camp was about to start up. So we're talking July. So camp starts up in August.
Yeah.
So each school that we went to, we met with the president and we met with the coach, the head football coach for the college.
Okay.
So we had an opportunity to meet with the president. He told us about the school. Then we would go into the admissions office to do the applications, and then they'll set us up with the football coach to give us a tour of the locker room, the football field. So all 3 schools did that. The other cool thing about Hampton is our legendary coach Joe Taylor, who's now in the Hall of Fame. He had the rings on his, and he's clacking the
Mm,
rings, and he's like,
uh,
we win championships over here. And I was like, I need that. I was so many different ways, man. But so it's summertime, man. After the tour, we went back home, and now Bill Cosby is being honored at the Hall of Fame. So now the
yeah.
event actually takes place. So all of this happened before the event took place.
Okay.
So now he kind of shares, he reveals to the world that he's the benefactor. So
Mm,
that night before the Hall of Fame event, where all the 12 students were gonna meet and be honored at the Hall of Fame with him, um, me and my friend was like, man, we getting all this recognition and everybody's knowing us in the city. Like, man, what if
yeah.
this thing hits like national news?
Right.
And I was like, we'll see. That
Yeah.
morning of the event, I'm sitting there get phone calls from New York City, and I'm like, answer the phone, and it's producers from the Today Show, producers from Good Morning America, and they're like, hey, I just read your article. Now mine is like 7 in the morning. They got the paper like 5 in the morning. Who knows? And they're like,
Hold
we're
on.
yeah.
Hold on. So now you're going on Good Morning America
Yeah,
today.
yeah, today. Yeah, yeah. So they asked us, they were heading to the event at the
Yeah.
Hall of Fame. They're like, I'm
Yeah.
getting in my, like the producer literally was like, I'm getting in my car right now,
hmm
driving to New York, Springfield from New York. It's about 2 hours. I'm
hmm
getting in my car right now. And when we're done with the event, we would like for you boys to come back to New York City to be on the Today Show. And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. So now, I mean, these are not just domestic. I mean, this is an
yeah,
international type of show here. So
yeah, yeah.
how are you feeling? I mean, like, is that
I'm in shock, man. I mean, I'm in shock, man. Here I am. I'm thinking about everything, right? You got my mom. My mom's in jail. My dad ain't
Mhm.
around. Like, a lot
Now?
of my
Are you
family.
talking to your mom? Are you
Absolutely,
okay?
a
Okay.
1000%. My mom. I visit her every week. So
Okay.
I visit my mom every Sunday, in jail for the 4 years that she was there. So
So,
definitely, yeah, yeah,
so you're going through all this, and you're still visiting and supporting
yeah.
your mom along the. Wow.
Man, I put the money on her books, man. I needed to make sure Mom Dukes was good, and make sure she had food wherever she needed inside. I made sure that, like, that was something that I wanted to make sure nobody else was doing it. Nobody in the family, was putting money on her books or visiting her and things like that. So I made sure I did that.
So, what was your mom telling you? Like, what were some of the conversations? Was there
Yeah.
anything? Was
My
she
mom was
guiding
proud. Yeah,
you?
she was proud, man. I mean, she was proud. She was proud that her son was doing it. Honestly, I started to excel in areas that she was unfamiliar with.
Yes, sir.
So what, she couldn't really guide me because my mom was, now when it comes to the streets, my mom,
hmm
she made sure, like, you don't let nobody do this, this is how you deal with your money, put this away,
hmm
do that.
hmm
But I kind of exceeded that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking
hmm
about college, I'm talking about all of these different things that was outside of her comfort zone.
hmm
So she was just fascinated and really just, hey, I'm proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing because you're going somewhere. And she always gave me words of encouragement to just keep doing what I'm doing. And that
Yeah.
was about it. But other than that, our relationship was always like, it was kind of weird because, I'm feeling like an adult now. She's
Yes,
been gone for
sir.
3-4 years. So I'm
Yes,
like,
sir.
hey, I've been doing this. So,
Okay.
trust me, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
All right. Let's fast forward because because I can go another 2 or 3 hours on this story here,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
but for those who are listening and so forth, it's it seems like there's some gems and principles here, right? Because we're always
Absolutely.
talking about life in itself in some form of fashion. So the principle here is having a vision and a goal for your life.
Absolutely.
Having, I mean, I don't think you knew this, but maybe your life in trials and tribulations was architecting a blueprint
Yes.
for your life to become successful.
Hmm.
Did you know that this was unveiling itself? Were you still in contact? Like, did you have specific mentors, or was your coach pretty much
Yeah.
kind
So
of
my
your guiding light?
my coach was the guidance because the streets, like he said, the streets would have loved me, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm loyal, I'm a hustle, I'm a grind. Like where we come from, my city, man, it's a small town outside of,
Mhm.
it's far from Boston, but you're either hustling or you grinding. Like that's
Yeah.
just everyone's mindset. So you either out there hustling, selling drugs or selling something, or you grinding, working 2-3 jobs at a time. And that's why I worked 2 jobs. It was normal for me. Now, when I did it, I was so young. People like my friends was like, bro, we're going to the beach, we're going to the pool, we're going to go play at the park. And I'm like, yeah, I got to go work. So I developed a work ethic very young.
Mhm.
I was grinding very young. And what I realized with the electric company, I got that exposure of, man, I can have a career because the NFL is a long shot, right?
Right,
So a
right.
lot of them was like, yo, kid, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not telling you you won't make it to the NFL, but you need to have a backup plan.
Mhm.
So I started thinking about, okay, contingency plans. If
Mhm.
this doesn't work out, what am I gonna do next?
Mhm.
So I'm doing this all mentally. Now, the electric company was my safety net. These men are making $100,000 a year.
Mhm.
Nobody in my family made $100,000 a year. So I said,
Mhm.
worst case scenario, I got this.
Mhm.
And so I made sure that I took care of everything. So showing up on time, I did everything that others like. When I started out with the company, I didn't know what was happening. So I used to sit on the chair and just waiting for someone to tell me, hey, you're working with me today.
Mhm.
One of the Spanish guys, I worked with him and he was like, hey kid, I'm gonna let you know something, man. These white men, they're looking at you and they
Mhm.
think you're lazy because you're just sitting in
Mhm.
the chair. And at first I'm kind of like, bro, I don't know you, man. Like you ain't my
Right.
dad. Like who the
Right.
hell are you to tell me? Right. So, but afterwards I started thinking like, man, maybe he's trying to tell me something. So that's when I really developed this strong work ethic where I was like, okay, what do I know that all of them need every day? Well, they all need the water jugs filled up. They need their trash taken out. They need their supplies that they're going to use on the job site. So
Yeah.
I made sure I took care of all of that while they were in their meetings from 7 to 7:30. And what happened was when they come out and they start looking at their truck and they're like, who the heck took care of
Yeah.
all of this stuff?
Yeah.
It was me. And I was just grinding.
So you learned the art of adding value
Absolutely.
where
Yeah.
there were opportunities. They didn't tell you to do it.
Yeah.
You saw an opportunity where there were that's a
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
gem
I
right
needed,
there.
man, T, I needed to stand out, man, because I'm given this opportunity that wasn't granted to everybody. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I was looking at I saw that and I don't want to be like these other 5 kids that got this
Yeah.
opportunity. So let me stand out. And that was my way to stand out. And as a leader, you always have that, that mindset of, standing out, making sure that you're
Mhm.
doing the things that
Mhm.
others won't do. And so that's what I started to do just at 15. And it just developed from there.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That, that's a gem. So those of you who are watching live and on a replay, catch that. Look for opportunities where you can add value.
Yeah.
look for opportunities where you can add value and stand out among your competitors. Okay, good, good. Let's keep it moving because we
Yeah,
gotta.
yeah, yeah. We got
Yeah, we.
more. Let's go.
All right. So you finished college.
Yep.
Did you stay in touch with Bill Cosby?
So I did, man. So when I graduated, now I didn't graduate on time. I was on the 6 year plan
Okay.
at
Yep.
Hampton.
That's cool.
I took some time off, but I finished. And when I finished, I was like, what's next?
Yeah.
Because I started getting, we talk about exposure, and now I'm starting to see kids talking about working for Nike, working for this
Yeah.
and that. The electric company looked so, it was small, man. I was like, man, I don't
Mm.
know if I want to go back. Not only that, again, my city, man, people are, they grinding, they hustling, and you got
Mm-hmm.
this environment where everybody's having kids. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to go back into that environment when I was exposed to this other environment of Black excellence and,
Mm-hmm.
going after your dreams and goals. So I said, what's next? So I just said, man, law school. It just popped up. I'm like, I'm gonna go to law
Mm-hmm.
school. Didn't know nothing about law school. I mean, I was, a lot of things that I did, I made, like, as you can tell, as a high D, sometimes we don't
Yeah.
think things, we just make a
Yeah.
decision and we go.
Yeah.
So Bill Cosby, I reached out to him, said, I want to go to law school. So he started helping me, as far as getting me to a school. So he wrote and called the college at Florida A&M, which is in Orlando, Florida. And they gave me an opportunity to go in the summer to try to, um, you know, get into the program. Well, I didn't get into the program, but it brought me to Orlando, Florida. And
Okay.
so as I was preparing to retake the LSAT, which is the test that you take before law school, that's when I got introduced to a gentleman, district manager for Sherwin-Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And he started talking, we started talking about careers and what you got planned. And he started telling me about Sherwin-Williams. And I was like, the paint company? And I'm like, how much money you make?
Mm-hmm.
So I just
Mm-hmm.
started perking up like, man,
Mm-hmm.
he offered me a job that day. I went back to my mentor at the law firm. I was working for a law firm in Florida. And I said, I know I'm studying to go to law school, but this man just offered me a job, $40,000 a year with the potential to make 100. What do you think? And he was like, listen, kid, you're young and law school is always going to be there, but this opportunity won't. So I took
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity, and that's where I started, with Sherwin-Williams 11 years ago.
11 years ago, you were at
Yeah.
Sherwin-Williams. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you're now there 11 years. You rose up through the ranks. You're going through life. Are you married at the time? Did you get married like years
Yeah.
later?
Yeah, years later. So, with Sherwin-Williams, the way to move up in the company is to move around. So I
Okay.
started out in Orlando, went to Vero Beach, went to Ocala. I started moving
Okay.
around with the company. Um, I was at a point where I was still thinking about law school, man. So I'm like, man,
Yeah.
do I just go to law school?
Okay.
And I'm with a friend who's a lawyer. So we're talking and whatnot. Well, he happens to be introduced by someone that said, you know, I have somebody, my sister. And so he's like, well, I got my friend. So they kind of hooked us up on a blind date.
Blind
And
date.
on a blind date. Yeah. So I ain't like blind dates. I'm not gonna lie. I'm focused, man. I'm focused on my career.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so, but something deep down in my spirit was like, take this date. Right.
Yeah.
So
Now, were you already dating at the time,
no,
or?
I wasn't dating, man. I was locked in, man.
Okay.
I was at the time I was working on several projects that I wanted
Okay.
to launch that year.
Yes.
So I was really just focused, laser focused. And so I was like not dating, but something deep down it was like, trust me. So
Yeah.
I went on this date and man, amazing, right? This woman is amazing. We go on this date and as we're talking and we got all these different common goals, she's spiritually grounded,
Mm-hmm.
she's got a career, great head on her shoulders, and I'm like, this is everything that I'm looking for in a woman. And so as we're talking, man, I had this moment when I was, I wake up, I have routines, we talk about daily routines in our group.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I would do
Yes.
my prayer and meditation, and I heard God speak to me. The Holy Spirit
Yeah.
was like, you know when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I thought as a child. I
Mm,
understood as a child. But when I became a
mm,
man, I put away childish things. And I was like, what does that mean though? Right.
Mm, uh-huh.
And so I'm like, what does that mean? And the Holy Spirit revealed that, I had this thing where, it's going to take 5 years to vet a woman to make sure she fits all my criterias. And he was like, need you to trust me.
Mm,
Need you to have faith in this, right? This is your wife. I've delivered your wife.
mhm.
And I'm scared because this 3 weeks of dating, 3 weeks of dating. And I'm like, what? This is my wife. So I wanted to tell her. And so we got on the phone and she was like, I got to tell you something. So
Yeah.
she had a dream and her dream revealed that I was her husband.
No
So
way.
yeah. So her dream revealed that I was her husband. And I was like, wow, well, let me tell you what happened in my morning prayer. And so right then and there, we both knew that, man, God put us together. So
Mm,
so then we started thinking and we just knew like, we're gonna get married, and we started talking about marriage,
uh-huh.
and we got married, man, 4 months after dating.
4 months after dating.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 months. I met my best friend, the love of my life, man. She's just an amazing woman, and we've been
Yeah.
married. It's going to be 4 years this year.
Wow.
And so yeah, man. Shout outs to my wife for just being who she
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah.
the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Let me ask you, you meeting her and things moving so fast, what's the one thing that you feel like really resonated with you? Was it her character? Was it her looks? Was it her? I mean, what
yeah.
what was
It
one
was
of?
it was definitely her character, right? Because she she was active in the church. She's a music director. She has her own counseling business.
Mm,
She's working. She had programs with kids. She was working with kids. She was doing public speaking. I'm doing public
mm-hmm.
speaking. And so I'm like, man, this woman has like, she just got her head, like everything's like going, like she's doing what she needs to do.
Uh-huh.
And just this maturity, and yeah, she was beautiful, man, but it was other things that really like attracted me towards her mind, man. And we just had these conversations that were on next level. Like it wasn't about like, oh, you're so beautiful. It was some deep conversations about life goals. And I was like, this is someone that I want to partner up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if we come together, we're going to be able to accomplish and achieve great things, which we
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
man.
Man, I wish other people would be able to experience that as well, man. I
Yeah, absolutely.
I met my best friend 21 years ago as well. So it's like, when you find that mate, like it becomes the best thing ever to help support you through the trials and tribulations and so forth. Okay, all right. All right, we got to keep it moving. Got to keep it
Yeah,
moving.
yeah, yeah. We getting there.
Let me ask you. So now you're working, now you have your queen, now
Hmm.
you're building a family. I read somewhere where you were also president of the local Rotary. What
Yes.
how did that transpire?
Yeah, man. So it's interesting. I have a mentor. I'm big on mentors. I know you mentioned a lot when I was
Yeah.
younger. I didn't realize what mentors were, but as I got older, I started finding mentors for all areas of my life. So I would have these prayer meetings with this guy in Merritt Island, Florida, and we would pray every Wednesday. And we
Okay.
actually prayed, about my future wife and all of these different things. And he said, I want you to come to breakfast Wednesday morning with a bunch of white men. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
that's interesting. Like, that doesn't make any sense. He's like,
Uh-huh.
trust me. So I walk in, and it's a Rotary Club. They didn't know what the Rotary Club was.
Yeah.
Then they started breaking it down, what they did, and it just aligned with what I do. So
Mm.
started to, I joined the
So you
club.
hear about this organization that is dominated by older white men,
Right.
but yet the values and principles was aligning with what you were as a person.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they
Okay.
had the resources to further along my goals, right?
Okay. Okay.
Because I didn't know much about nonprofit organizations and how they get funded and things like that. And as you know, man, with Rotary, they match grants and things like that. So I joined the club, and immediately they saw my character and my leadership and things like that.
Mm.
So they were like, next year you're going to be our president.
Ah!
And at the time I was only like 31, and so I was the youngest and first African American and Puerto Rican president for that club.
Wow.
And I was a
Wow.
two-time. I did it 2 years in a row.
So you did it twice.
Yeah, I did it
Oh,
twice. They
okay.
wanted me
Well,
to go
that's
for a three-peat, and then
oh.
so my so yeah. So also I'm a newlywed. So now I'm a newlywed. I'm like, guys, I need to give it to somebody else. And so
Yeah.
that's what happened. Yeah. But yep, Rotary. I was a board member for a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
Yeah. So just really involved in the community.
Okay. Well, shout out to Rotary.
Yeah.
That's it. It is a fabulous organization that does a lot of good throughout the U.S. and international. So
Most stuff.
those of you who may be watching in some form of fashion, look it up in your local city. They're almost in every city throughout the United States and definitely internationally. Okay, so Brother Lowe, you now are doing things. You're kind of getting your life together. You just talked about having routines. We talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
in aligning yourself with becoming the very best version of you. What are you doing nowadays? Like, where are you at now, and where are you going?
Yeah. So right now, just top of my game as far as career wise. I took an opportunity here in Atlanta to run a large volume sales branch here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And at the time, it was the number one in the division.
Okay.
But then, we got in there. We kind of had to do some, rebuilding in the team, the culture.
Okay. So you go over here. They're number one in the area. Did you bring on a new team to support you, or did you have to rebuild it from scratch?
No, we had to rebuild it from scratch, and it happened organically, man. Once I came in, it's kind of like that new coach, because at the time I was a sales rep down in Florida, and I was getting all these accolades, right? Sales rep of the year. I did that back to back. So they see all these sales accolades. They saw that I'm killing it, and so I was given this opportunity to come up here. But I had to rebuild from scratch. What happened was they said, this team has had some issues, but your leadership, we know that you can make some changes.
Yeah.
I came in immediately, started to change the culture. And as you know, people are either going to get with it or they're going to get out.
Right.
And so some of them, they started to leave, whether they quit the company or they went to a different store. And that gave me the opportunity to now, hire some new employees. And at the time, I'm still learning this DISC assessment. So I started to look for people with personalities that were going to fit, what I'm looking for to help us get to that next level.
Come on. Okay, guys. Yeah. All right. He's mentioning the flight assessment again, knowing who you are so that in fact you can understand yourself, so that you can understand others a little better in your team, your organization environment. So now I hear through the grapevine that you guys are number one in the commercial world. You want to?
Man, we number one in all fields. So how it works? Yeah.
Come on.
So we go by, everything's about sales, right? So
yes,
we have increased our sales by $10 million as of year to date.
Wow.
And so we are currently way over budget. Which is amazing, right? We landed some projects, but we talked about this before. Some of the key factors is building the team, making sure that we build a culture to win, a culture to help and service above, right? And so and then communication, being able to communicate with reps and the staff to make sure. Now we have some bumps in the roads, like every business and organization. But you have to overcome. Like I tell everybody, I'm a PPS, man. I'm a professional problem solver. So, when a problem arises, I'm already immediately thinking about the solution rather than harping on the problem. Right. So I do that so efficiently that's what makes me good, man. You muted.
I said, hold on, let's not pass by that too quickly. PPS, a professional problem solver. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
I learned along the way, T, man, that if you are good at solving problems, you're gonna make
Yeah.
some pretty good money. So
Yeah.
I say a professional problem solver because I've solved some very complex problems, right? We're
Yeah.
dealing with
Yeah.
logistics, you're dealing with team
Mhm.
building, inventory,
Mhm.
sales, all of these components that are made up in my business. And so to do it, it's very challenging and stressful.
Mhm.
But when you can build a blueprint and really start kind of like emphasizing the importance of having a system, things begin
Yes.
to work a little bit better. But that's what causes the stress, because you're talking about change, and but along the lines, it brings results that we're looking for.
Yeah. Brother Lowe, we're getting like, okay, we're over our time period, and I apologize for that. But there was so much that we needed to unpack. We may have to do a part two, and just talk about life in itself and principles, because there's so much to unpack. I see you got the book, The Atomic Habits,
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
on your
yeah.
right hand side there. What's some of your favorite books? Like, what's your
Man,
favorite?
Think and Grow Rich by
Uh,
Napoleon Hill. Think
okay.
and Grow Rich, a Black choice. I love, obviously our boy ET has
Mm-hmm.
UOU. That was a
UOU. Let's
phenomenal
go.
read. Thinking, or I'm sorry, you got Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
I love a lot of books that talk about business as well. So you got the
Yeah.
Brian Tracy books, Tom Hopkins, and Zig Ziglar's. So as you can see, man, just built a library because a lot of people stop reading after high school or
Mm-hmm.
college, and you basically not going to grow. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
develop if you're not reading. So I'm a life learner. Got my PhD in life learning.
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. So you have a store that you manage now. Where can they look, guys? If you're doing a real estate project, you're doing a DUI, and you're out in his area, Lo, where can they find you?
Man, I'm out in Decatur, Georgia, Sherwin-Williams, man, off of DeKalb. But you can find me on social media, Low Inspires on Instagram. I have a podcast, Desire to Dream podcast,
Yeah,
which we bring on people like yourself, high
yeah,
achievers, sharing their
yeah.
journeys. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, YouTube channel, and Facebook as well.
I love it. I love it. And you're doing a lot of speaking engagements. You're talking to a lot of youth nowadays too.
Yeah,
You,
yeah, yeah,
you in
yeah.
high demand, bro.
Hey, just hey, since I was young, it's funny, man. Just been very involved with a lot of different things, and you try to balance it all. But definitely, really diving into speaking more. 2023, I got
Yes,
4
sir.
speaking engagements lined up
Yes, sir.
already.
Yes, sir.
Actually getting my first international speech. I'm not going to share too many details about that.
Yeah,
On the
yeah,
second part, hopefully I can when I talk with my constituents. But yeah, man, we my goal right now is to help at promise youth, reach their or discover their raw potential so they can
yeah,
achieve at a high
yeah,
level. So
yeah,
really focusing on, kids that are at promise, disadvantage, and helping them get the tools that they need so that they can achieve. So you
yeah.
can, if you need a speaker, definitely reach out to me. I can come out and give a phenomenal
Come
message
on,
there. So
come on,
yeah.
come on, come on. Lock in my man Low. Hey,
Yes, sir.
Low. And thank you for being a part of the King's Accountability Group. You
Absolutely, man.
you add tremendous value, and that is our goal. Our goal is to become the very best version of ourselves,
Ourselves.
and you
Mhm.
do that on a consistent basis while working your business, handling your business with your family, and so forth. So, Brother Lowe, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I
Most
mean,
definitely.
yes, we went a little over, but I think the added value is definitely we can dissect this, and I will definitely put you back on the schedule where we can look. I had tons of notes, and I only got through 1/3 of it
Yeah.
because there was just so much to unpack. Last question. Like, when was your last time talking to Bill Cosby?
So the last time I was talking to him back in I think it was 2015.
Okay.
He was doing he still does comedy. He was still doing comedy at the time, even though, everything that's going out in the
Yeah.
media. And so we met up in Melbourne, Florida. It was like right down the street from my house, and went backstage, talked to him. And man, it's sad, bro, like to see everything that's going on, because I know the man for the
Yeah.
last,
Yeah.
16, 18 years, right? It's been
Yeah.
about 18 years. And I've seen him with his family, and saw
Yeah.
how he handled, people with friends. And I can't see, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not here to judge or
Mm-hmm.
have my opinion, but I know the man. And so it's challenging to see what he's going through.
Yeah.
But I'm still honored that what he did in my life, because he gave me an opportunity to get out of, my city, and expose me to things. And now, man, what I have, man, I contribute a lot to the opportunity that he gave me.
Yeah, well, they definitely have contributed to making you a great man as well as others. So, again, shout out to you, Brother Lowe, as we get on out of here on this super sensational, successful Saturday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got to get on out of here. So, guys, thank you for tuning in live on a super successful Saturday. Watch the replay, tune in. Let's get it.
Let's go.
And we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you, Lo. Appreciate you.
No doubt, man. Appreciate it. Peace out.